Well, good afternoon, everyone. I can't say good morning anymore because we're not in the morning, obviously. We are at 4 o'clock. And we decided to try a new time. And so I want to say welcome. I'm so happy that you're here with us. And we have an awesome show that we're going to do today. It's going to be very interesting, especially for the Authors and Speakers Visibility Playground, because we have a publisher coming on today. And you're just going to love what she has to share with you, because she's going to talk to us about how to have our book prepared for the publisher. Because if we don't have it prepared, what happens? They throw it back at us and we got to go to work again. So what we're going to talk about is how to get you prepared. So I'll be with you in just a minute, and we hang around. We'll be back. And welcome back. This is going to be an exciting show because it's one of my favorite topics. It's all about writing books, publishing books, and I'm sure we'll probably get into talking about editing too. If you have a book that you are working on, then you are going to want to listen to this show. And it doesn't really matter whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it's going to be a tremendous help to you. And I know, since we've been going through all this shift in our world lately, that many of us have been at home working on our books. I actually have written 3 since all this started. And I looked at them the other day. I'm just dreading getting back into it again, because this book took 9 edits before I could get it to the publisher. So you can imagine what I went through. And there's 367 pages in it. So I got so tired of reading it over and over and over again. And that's part of what we have to do. I'm sure you're going to hear that from our guest today. So our guest is, I got to just tell you, it's pretty amazing, because June 22nd is when she started her publishing company. And she is so booked out that you can't even get in before 2021 now. And she is an expert. The name of her company is Book Brilliance Publishing, and she's located in the UK. So you're going to love her accent. I do. So as I said, we're going to talk about how to prepare. And the fact that she is doing so well with her company at this time shows you that you can keep moving forward and you can make a difference in the world no matter what's going on. And many of us who are still in business are doing more business than we've ever done before. And we're busier than we've ever been before, which is a really good thing. And it shows you that no matter what the climate of the world, you can still do business. Now, our guest is an award-winning entrepreneur. And in fact, I met her out in London this past November at the Women Economic Forum. And she was speaking there just as I was. And we had so much fun getting to know each other. And I couldn't wait to get her on the show. And I've tried many times. And finally, we've got her. So she's a coach and an international best-selling author. And as I said, she is a publisher, and she's been speaking for 15 years. And she has a 20-year background in education. And she's just the most lovely person you've ever met. So I want to bring her on without any further ado. Let's bring on Brenda Dempsey. Hi, Brenda. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're with us on the Heart-Based Business Show.
Hi, Shirlene. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Rather late, I know, but hey, it's worth it to be here in such a high vibe place. And it's going to be great talking about everything I love tonight on your show, and or this afternoon for you, actually. So I'm delighted. And, it never fails to ground me when I hear people talk about what I've achieved, you know, and I sit and I pinch myself, because, you know, when you think of the humble beginnings and what you can achieve with a life when you're determined and you're driven and you want to make a difference, and you put others at the heart of it, not to the detriment of yourself, but actually it allows you to become that beacon of light for others. And I've lived my life like that since I was a child, so I don't know how to be any other way. So, you know, that when you hear someone say it, it's just like, You've got to stand in that power, haven't you, Shirlene? And just own it, own it.
Yeah, I was on a show earlier today and I had that same feeling. I like, who is that? But, you know, people don't realize that if we just keep putting one foot in front of the other and we just keep making an effort to reach your goal, then you'll reach that goal, then there will be another. And then suddenly when you get to be older, you go, wow, did I do all these things? How could I have done all these things?
I know. It's totally incredible. But, you know, for me, it drives me. And, you know, I'm a wee bit of, I'm very empathetic and, you know, I champion people all the time. But sometimes I find it hard when people just love to be in their pity parties. And when you think of your own journey and what you overcome and what you do, you know, you just want to help people shift that mindset and actually just connect to who they are and what it is about them that they love to do. Because when you connect with that, you then can find that you've got a solution to something that someone else hasn't, because you've been there, you've come through that, and so you can go in their shoes. You know, that's that old phrase, walk a mile in my shoes. And you know, when you've lived as long as we've lived, you've walked in many shoes.
That's right, exactly, and stumbled in many of them as well,
and fallen over the heels, yeah, and the platforms. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I want to ask you, what made you decide that you were going to start a publishing company?
Well, you know, it's really funny. So what I say in my life, it's like, sometimes I think I want one thing and you set your goals and you start off on the journey. But when you're truly aligned with what it is that you want to do, sometimes the universe will just go, hello, and it opens other doors, and it shows you maybe a better way, a path of least resistance. Because in terms of becoming a publisher, I resisted becoming a publisher for quite some time. I didn't want to do it. I thought, oh, it's too much work. And then it wasn't what excited me. What excited me was helping people gain more confidence, self-belief, and building a business from their adversity. That's what my books have been about in the past. But this year, for some particular reason, more and more people were coming to me, ghostwriting, can you publish my book? Can you help me? And I'd been working with a publisher, and then I just decided around the 28th of April that, do you know what? The universe is trying to tell me something, Brenda. Just say yes. You know, so when you surrender and you let go of any of your, you let go of any resistance you've got, then wow, magic happens. So that's what happened to me. You know, already, you know, I've got a core team of there's 7 of us at the core, and then I've got 2 other people working for me, and now I've got a number of associates. I'm just partnering with a audiobook company who's been around for a great number of years, who decided they would like not just to take my business but actually partner with me. So that was a huge bonus for me. I was like, oh, I'm definitely on the right track. But I would say that sometimes the universe just opens the door, and you know what? You've just got to say, Okay, I surrender. Yes, right, bring it on. And that's how the publishing company, and we launched on June the 22nd. We've got 10 authors in just over a month, well, into 2 months, when we can't take any more on to publish the book this year, and already our books are filling up for 2021. So it's looking great.
Wow. So I know that you've worked with 60 different women's stories around courage and struggling and transformation. And you did 2 books that way. Were they anthologies? Is that
Yes,
what they were?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And so the books that you're publishing now, are they mostly anthologies as well, or are they individual authors?
Individual authors, except I've just hooked up with another coach who works in the States, and guess what he wants to produce? An anthology. That'll be my first anthology, and that will be published in January. But no, it's quite surprising. I've got a fiction writer, a few non-fiction writers, so business books, which is a big passion of mine, and children's books, which is like, it's so easy for me, children's literature and books, with having worked in education. So in terms of when children's authors come, they come with a manuscript, they come with ideas, they don't come ready.
That's my next question.
Come ready. They come with what they think's a manuscript. And then what you start talking to them, and you say, well, so what age group's this for? Oh, it's for, I don't know, let's say it's 5-year-olds. And then you look at the language and you think, that's not for a 5-year-old. Those concepts, a 5-year-old, because they're so excited and enthralled and motivated to get this wonderful story out. But if you don't know anything about child development, language development, therefore the concepts that you might want to include in your story might not be appropriate for 4 and 5-year-olds. Or what you find sometimes is people mismatch illustrations to age groups as well. So you might get quite a nice story, but you've got really young characters, so it's a mismatch, and vice versa. You get a simple language, but the characters. So there's a lot, even I'm learning myself, but there's a lot about writing children's stories that children's authors know nothing about. And it isn't until they want to write their second and their third book that they begin to get a handle. So I'm working with an author just now who's actually my in diversity and inclusion ambassador. She, her ethnic minority, her ethnicity, is African and Caribbean, and so she reads a lot. She loves reading, and her daughter said to her one day, a few years ago, "Mum, why is there no little girls in the book that look like me?" And it got her to thinking, about role models in children's stories. So she decided, I'll write a story. So when she came to me and she showed me her story, well, you can imagine the language didn't match the so we soon sorted that, and eventually we got her book into a great place, and she just published earlier. I've got to say it was before my company, which is now coming to book 2. So, and we just had our meeting to structure book 2, but already she'd started writing it, and already the difference in how she's approaching book 2 is miles ahead of where she was with book 1. So it's a huge learning curve for authors, whether you're a children's writer, whether you're writing fiction, or whether you're writing business books, or even poetry. People are driven by this love of, they've just got to get this book done. They just want to do it. It's for some people, it's a bucket list. If you're in business, it's to help with your business, as you know. And actually, to say my fiction writer and my poet, they're now realizing that, you know, because I talk about beyond your book, that now their mind is turned to how they can create businesses through the writing. So
yes.
so yeah, but people's idea of what publishing is and what being an author entails, it's the tip of the iceberg, I'm afraid. It's absolutely the tip of the iceberg. So if we talk about maybe non-fiction for a moment?
Well, I want to ask you something first.
Okay, ask me a question. Go on.
When I just love working with you. You're so wonderful. So don't they have to get it edited before they get to you? I mean, they do here in the States. What do they do in the UK?
Okay. So now, so
no.
Right, let's go back to basics. So there's self-publishing and there's traditional publishing. Yes. And then there's people like me, there's publishers like me who are what's called partnership publishing.
Oh.
So, now I offer, because of my experience, I can offer book writing and coaching at the start of the journey. Then you've got the publishing part, and then we've got the post-publishing, so it's all the business end. Although, and throughout all this, this is what makes us stand apart, is we include marketing and PR in our packages, because most publishers don't, or it's an add-on and it's quite expensive, or they'll direct you to a publicist or something like that. You know, so if you self-publish, well, not all self-published books are edited properly.
Oh, tell me. Same with the anthologies.
I don't want to talk about that tonight. You know, let's go to traditional publishing for a moment. So if you want to traditionally publish your book, well, good luck, because you have got to, in the UK, there's 187,000 books published a year. That's not including self-published or ebooks. So good luck getting a publisher to pay you to publish your book. Obviously, it's very possible, but what do you need to do in order to do that? Well, you need to have a huge following. You need to be somebody. You need to have a track record that loads of people follow you and people buy easily from you. So if they can buy easily from you, it kind of what I've discovered is traditional publishers watch business people, and they watch them for 2, 3, 4 years before they can approach them, to make sure that, because these publishers are paying hefty prices to publish your book, they're giving you a lump sum, so they've got to be almost guaranteed that they're going to get that money back through the sales and other things, because they've got to invest in marketing for you and PR for you. So when you go to a traditional publisher, you can't just hand your manuscript in that will just get put in a bin. You need a publicist. You need goodness, the name's gone out of my mind, but you need the gatekeepers that only publishers will deal with. And when you send your manuscript in there, yes, it's got to have been edited. Now, editing in itself is a whole big skill, and there's all sorts of different editors, and your book might need 2 or 3 editors and not just one. So you might need, if you're not sure how to shape your book, or you might need a developmental editor, then you might need a copy editor, then you might need an editor who's going to look at, you know, a bit like the proofreader, but before that stage, you're looking at the editors are making sure that it flows, that, you know, the language is right, that there's no duplication. Then you've got editors who've got to check that there's no plagiarism, that there's
yes,
you know, there's no plagiarism going on, that your references, now that's a biggie. It's a biggie. Authors don't even consider that any references are correct, you know, because sometimes people will put a quote in the book and they might just put a name, so they don't even reference it. So knowing how to reference your quotes in your book in terms of on the page, but also as part of the book at the back of the book, because it's a great thing to reference other people, because when you reference great people, you are promoting yourself to that level. So people start to, by association. So it's one way of raising your profile through great referencing in your book, not to speak about credibility. You know, so we're talking about nonfiction books here.
So for you, let me ask you, to prepare for what you do, what do they have to do to prepare?
Well, we're different because we can offer if somebody comes to us with an idea. I've got this idea for the book, but I don't really know where to start. You know, most other publishers will say, well, go and get a book coach, go and get whatever you need to help you. But because we can do it all, we offer all these services. So we can take, so for instance, I've got a client who had an idea for a book. So I've kind of ghostwritten it along with her. So she's given me some of the sort of framework. I've been writing it for her. And so we've taken her through 3-4 months of getting that book, you know, from what's the idea, what's it about, who's your audience. So asking what you do in a business, you know, putting all that foundation, who's your ideal reader, your ideal client, you know, so all those questions, what's the values of the book, what's the vision and the mission for the book. So we can work with authors at that stage. Obviously, if you need that amount of help, it's going to cost you a lot more money, but you're going to have a quality book because it's all professionally done. So, so therefore, we will take on authors at any stage.
Nice. That's really good to know. You just made a really good point that you take on authors at any stage, but then you might have to wait till next year for that, right?
Well, so one of the things I was looking at offering 90 days to from the day we receive your manuscript to the day it's launched. We're looking at 90 days. Now, I'm in lots of negotiations and lots of talks with other agencies that I've got to work with, like i.e. printers. So I've been on calls all day to printers, looking at what they offer. And oh my God, that's another big, we can talk also about printers. There's a lot to learn there too. And so therefore, in the world of publishing, now I've got this, let me just show you this. In the UK, I don't know what you've got in America, but in the UK, there's the bookseller. It's like 200 years old. And in here, they're promoting August books. Now, to get your book in here, it's been launched in August, they asked for those submissions in May. That's almost 6 months.
Yes, it is.
You
so
know,
your book's already 6 months old before that ever comes out.
But listen, I know a really great entrepreneur here in London who just announced a big deal with a traditional publisher. And guess when his book's coming out? 2022.
Oh my gosh. Well, he doesn't have it written yet. He's only written one chapter.
Yeah. But my point is about that. So traditional publishers, you can be anything from a year, 18 months, 2 years before you actually get a book. But you will be
and it's expensive. It's expensive. You know, when people just say, oh, I'm going to write a book, it's like, oh my gosh, that's why I was looking at, because I always handwrite everything before I ever even put it in the computer. And I was looking at it going, oh my gosh, there's going to be so many hours yet again. I think it's a good retirement project.
Well, you can write a book quite quickly. So the thing is, look, the question is, you need to know why you're writing your book. Now, there's a place for people to self-publish. There is a place for self-publishing. But this is what I say. If you're a serious entrepreneur or business person, whatever you want to call yourself, you really want to be writing a quality book. So if you think of people like Stephen Covey's book's over 30 years old and still a bestseller, 30 million copies. Because do you think that man wrote that book in 12 weeks?
No
or
way.
Or say, you can write your book in 30 days and get a number one book and all of this. Do you know what? Now, a number one bestseller on Amazon's one thing, but a number one bestseller on the Times or the New York Times or in the book trade, that's another kettle of fish. And that's the one, it's more serious. So you really need to know why you're writing your book. Now, I would say if you're in business and you're serious about your business and you're serious about making a difference and a great impact, you need to think carefully and do due diligence and do your work to produce a quality book that's got longevity.
Absolutely. Agree.
So for me, it's about that longevity. So it's about looking at your life. It's a journey that you go on. It's about the philosophy. So what's all the lessons you've learned in life? What training have you had? What lessons in business have you had? What have you learned from it? And all of the learning and the lessons and the training and the blood, sweat and tears, and never mind the investment in time, effort and money, that's what creates your philosophy. And your philosophy is embedded and it comes from inside you. You're not ruled by your head. You're driven by this burning passion to make the difference because you believe that what you've got is absolutely gold or diamond, as I say. But so therefore, when you write your book with that passion and knowing that you are passing something on that can be here long after you've gone, that it's making an impact, then, you're not going to write that book in 30 days. Not really. Not really. And then there's the whole thing about authors write a book and they think that's it. That's it. And you're like, no, writing the book is just the beginning.
That's just putting it in diapers.
The work begins in promoting your book, marketing your book.
Yeah.
And some people think, so I'll ask someone, so what have you done so far to market your book? Well, I've put some posts out on social media, but I didn't get much response, so I don't think I'll try that again. So actually, there's a whole big gap in the market for the mindset of an author.
Yes, and that's a perfect segue into the challenge that I'm going to do. I think that it's so fun to do the challenge in the Authors and Speakers Visibility Playground because we're going to turn the $10 book into $1,000. And how are we going to do that? We're going to take nonfiction authors and help them create programs, yes, so that they can sell programs rather than just the book. Because I've found that that's the only way to go because I wrote my book and now I do programs with my book. So it's made a huge difference. That's right.
So the saying in my business is beyond your book.
Yes.
So beyond your book is about, so this is why your book's got to, you really need to speak to somebody like me who knows how to shape books. So I've got 30 years experience in education. I know how to write, how to structure it, to make it an easy read for your reader and not to get too, because sometimes people get too bogged down in the use of the vocabulary. So you've got to know who your ideal reader is. Are you writing for other professionals in your field, or are you writing more to help others? So therefore you have to, I don't want to say dumb down, but you just have to use a different language, different vocabulary set. So when I work with others, authors doing their books, so we look at all of that because in the book actually develops their signature program, not just a program, but their signature program based on who they are, what they stand for, what's their passion, what's driving them, what's their purpose. And that program also from that book, so the chapters are, they're woven to create, like what you might do in a workshop, a weekend, a week, whatever you want to do. And then you have from that, you get your signature talk. And, and it's amazing just by telling people to stop using we and they and use the word you. So as an author, you should pick up your book. It should be a conversation, as if you're having a conversation with a VIP client one-to-one. So therefore, your book should be filled with the second person you. And that is the power of persuasive language. And, so I taught that for years to kids, secondary school age kids, so it's what's part of persuasive language in advertising. So it's so important, and it's just one little thing, but it's amazing how many people don't use that.
Yes.
It's quite significant. And then
stories too are so important. And I think that's why my books won so many awards, is because of the stories.
Yeah, because so that's what I'm saying. It's about your journey. So your journey is your golden thread. So I have an exercise I do with with clients, whether they're writing a book or not. One of the things to understand and develop their business, whether they're writing a book or not, is the power of story, because we've been telling stories since time began, sitting round the fire. And the thing is, today we've stopped telling stories, we write stories, but actually stories are meant to be heard. So therefore, when if you're a coach, if you're on stage, if you're doing your programs, you need to weave in those golden thread stories. So you need to know the highs and lows, because it's not just all the adversity. You need to have light and shade in what you do. So once you do your golden thread and you know what your purpose is, you know how you're shaping your book, then you can go, oh, when I'm making that point, I can use this part of my life. I can use this little story. I can use this anecdote, So, and not only, there's more power in, yes, tell your story. Your story must be in there. But when you can actually, so what I do with authors, we look at metaphor as well. Metaphor is one of the best ways to helping people see a point. And also, tell stories of other people who are way further ahead than you. So one of the stories I talk about all the time, I talk about Viktor Frankl. He's one.
Oh, yes. He's something.
I use a lot. Edison and the light bulb. Do you think Edison gave up? No, 10,000 times before we got a light bulb.
Or Colonel Sanders. 1,009 times to sell that chicken recipe.
Yes, exactly. KFC, yeah.
Well, Brenda, you've been so wonderful to have on the show, and we've run out of time. I can't believe how much you have, the energy that you have, and it's 12 o'clock at night. But yeah. I want to thank you. Yeah, 12:30. I just want to thank you so much that you stayed up this late, that you came to share this with us. And I hugely appreciate your time and your effort.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And anything for you, Shirlene. Anything.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us this afternoon, everybody. I hope you got a lot out of what Brenda had to share with you. She gave us so much knowledge. Maybe you might have to go watch the show again just to digest everything that she gave you. And I really appreciate that you stayed with us, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell so that you know when we have the next show. And this is the Heart-Based Business Show. I'm Dr. Shirlene Reeves, and thank you for being with us. See you next week. Bye-bye.